Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Um, okay, thank you. So, my guest this morning, it's been quite a while. Dr. Fasi Yusuf, Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf, he's been a bit distant from us, but all that's been sorted out today. He's a lawyer and communications consultant. Fasi, you're welcome.
My
Back.
pleasure, Yori. I was out of circulation.
I know.
Yes.
People are busy.
I was not detained, though.
Okay, we're going to come to that. And good morning to you, Mr. Evans Ufeli.
Good morning.
Mr. Ufeli is a public affairs analyst. He's a lawyer as well. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Lucky to have two lawyers.
Indeed. But is our subject very lawyerly this morning? I don't know. We're looking at it from the point of view of, the whole furore since the, what is it called now? Revolt Now, hashtag Revolt Now. And the convener, Mr. Omoyele Sowore, he is, he's been detained by DSS. Now, I suppose the news now, there's been an outcry. Well, we even had aspects of it on our program yesterday. There are people who understand what's going on the way it is, and there are people who are saying, no, we don't understand. It's unconstitutional. Mr. Sowore should not have been arrested, and he should be released forthwith. And for this DSS had said in a on-camera statement that he had crossed the line, and there are people who are saying, I don't see how he crossed the line. Now, Fasi, to pick it up, because it's an ongoing story, to pick it up, now we see that the DSS is saying in the first instance, can we have 90 days, please? We need 90 days further on this whole issue before we even begin to know where we are. Give me your thoughts on that. Vis-a-vis the constitutionality, one, of his being arrested at all, and then now this 90 days request sought from the court.
Well, ordinarily, incitement is an offense. When you now call for a revolution, that's a capital offense. It's a treasonable felony. There were past presidents. Awolowo in the 60s
Yes.
was arrested along with others for treasonable felony. And Awolowo was even jailed 10 years for treasonable felony. So there have been a plethora of cases on what constitutes a treasonable felony, what constitutes a threat to national unity, and what have you. And again, I must tell you, as a scholar in communication, you see, when you even talk about national security, who determines national security? Generally speaking, it is the government of the day. If you look at what happened in America, as democratic as it was, we set up the Guatemala detention camp and all the rest. And in America, those who were found to have participated in threatening the security of America had been detained for years. You remember one of our songs, I don't know whether it's been released now, Mutalab.
The
Yes,
underpants bomber?
Yes. So when we now talk about that, I think we shouldn't allow emotions to get the better part of us. We must look at what the law says. The law says nobody's happy with what's happening in the country. The country could have been better off. But when you now come out to say you are calling for a revolution now, you are saying that the government of the day should be overthrown willy-nilly and outside the constitutional provisions. So those of my colleagues and those other commentators who are saying that it cannot be, government will allow any individual to threaten the peace, unity, and integrity of the nation. Okay. So it becomes something that we should look at it rationally. To say, look, if I call for a revolution, you call for a revolution. At the end of the day, are we going to have something like what we have in Syria, in Libya, or in other banana republics? I think we must be reasonable with some of our criticisms.
Sure. As just a remark on what you just said, if I remember accurately, I think Professor Soyinka has said in his commentary, general commentary on the matter, that he fails to see that Mr. Sowore has any of the wherewithal to actually mount a revolution. So
Soyinka is entitled to his opinion, and I'm entitled to my own opinion. But I, as a lawyer, and I, as a somebody who studied communication and somebody who professed communication, from what we have seen, writing all these things on a report, and you're inciting members of the public.
Okay, okay. Evans, how do you see both sides of the argument? The one side, which Fasi has represented for us, which is you can't do stuff like that. And the other people who are saying, no matter how distasteful, no matter how incongruent, no matter how bothersome, look, a right is a right. And they feel that he was well within his rights. Where do you come down in the whole conversation?
I don't think there's any constitutional infraction that can be attributed to Sowore's conduct as regards the call for a better society, for a more responsible and responsive government. You see, Nigerian government is laying a very dangerous precedent, and the whole world is watching us. The beauty of citizenship is in the confidence that the government reposes on her citizens. You understand? So where the government takes the side of intimidation, violates the fundamental rights of the citizens in the name of creating and inventing charges of treason and treasonable felony without looking at the laws.
No, because I was going to say that, thankfully, you're
not.
a lawyer yourself. You're a lawyer yourself. So what you're saying probably will have some basis in law, the way you see it. Since lawyers, put two lawyers together, they can spend the next 24 hours on a conversation on the same law. So from what you are saying is that, lawyer that you are joining your other legal minds, legal colleagues, who have said that there's nothing wrong in what Mr. Omoyele has done.
It's not even a question of joining anybody. It's stating the fact and the law.
Well, the fact and the law, seen one way, is that this is a treasonable offense.
It is not.
That's what we're saying now. That's what we're saying.
It's not for us to decide. It's for the court of law to decide.
Thank you. A court of
but
law
what
will
I'm saying is
decide.
that the mere word revolution now
is a problem.
I don't. Maybe I don't understand English so much. But what's the definition of the revolution?
If you look at the statement released by the group, okay, there you have their demands stated.
Yeah, but never mind
and
the statement,
the demands
never
are
mind
very
the
clear
the
in
signature,
English language.
The signature that they are using is
revolution now.
Revolution now.
In
so
what
if you don't have time,
in the context of,
if you don't have the time to study the whatever it is, the point of the roadmap, if you don't have that time, at least from the hashtag revolution now should give you a very clear impression of what they're about.
The question of time, what is the responsibility of government?
I hear
the responsibility of government is the provision of the security and welfare of the people. So government must have the time to investigate proper.
I hear you.
And then they have not been able to come up with anything reasonable, any evidence whatsoever. They're not asking the court for 90 days to do what? To violate somebody's rights?
I hear you.
You need 90 days to keep violating the rights of citizens?
Could I quickly just...
one
moment, sir. I'm going to come to you. I'm going to come to you immediately, but I just need to round off with one question that, look, as a lawyer yourself, no, even leave the lawyer part of it out. Mr. Omoyele Sowore was a presidential candidate.
Yes.
He sought the highest office in the land through the ballot box. Yes. The people of Nigeria voting decided for someone else.
Yes.
You now show up months after the event and say, you know what, I'm not happy with the way situations are, and me and a lot of colleagues of mine, and so we have to go totally opposite to the way I attempted months ago in February, or when was it? Yeah, in February. So leave that attempt. Now I have a different idea. We can get these people out of here by force.
That's not the case.
It isn't. Okay, explain how you see it. Because first of all, you'll admit that Mr. Sowore was a presidential candidate.
Yes, he was.
So if he had won the election, there will be no need for revolution. Hashtag revolution now.
He would have galvanized the country to put the country in the perspective for which he has outlined in this. Okay. You see, let's understand this thing.
I understand you perfectly.
Let's understand this thing. I mean, you and I know that Nigeria is not where it's supposed to be. That's a clear fact, okay? And then if someone is of the view and the opinion that we should have a better society where the security and welfare of citizens will be guaranteed, where the basics of life can be guaranteed for the citizens.
Sure.
And then he is coming up with a peaceful assemblage of people who are, were they armed? The people who went out to protest? It was a peaceful gathering. And then the state used its power of coercion to clamp down on innocent citizens, arrested people. I was in court yesterday for this matter, and some of the people who are arrested have been refused a bail. And this is not, you see, because
But
when the government...
not all of them were
when the
refused bail.
government-
Some were indeed released on bail.
Some were released on bail.
Self-recognition.
Some were released on bail.
Yes, some.
You need to
But
say
some
that.
Some of them are still there.
Yeah, but
what
some
I'm
were also
saying-
released on bail, which
yeah.
means the court looked through it.
What I'm saying is that when the government of Nigeria intimidates her citizens, when it put pressure on citizens and then destabilize them and put fear in them, wherever they go all over the world, no government in anywhere in the world will respect those citizens, because the home country where they are from is a country that have not been able to guarantee their rights.
But this last statement,
I mean,
this last statement you just made, where is that coming from?
What I'm saying is,
Where is that last statement coming from? The
I'm
government intimidating its people?
that is what is happening.
With this
They have a
singular
right-
incident.
The people have a right to peaceful assembly, and they have a right to express their grievances. It's within the law. It's in the Constitution.
So you
Chapter 4 of the
are saying, just
Constitution.
before I come away, you are saying that as far as you're concerned, a call to revolution is within the law.
It's within the law.
Okay, thank you.
A call for peaceful assembly and protest is within the law.
You've amended the
The
statement.
same president,
You've amended the
same
statement.
president had called for revolution sometimes in 2000.
No, he never did.
He did.
He never did.
It's in the media.
Okay.
It's in the media.
I'm a media man.
No, it's in the media. All Nigerians now,
Let's continue with the conversation. And yes.
You see, for every right, there is a responsibility.
Sure.
You see, when you talk about national security, thank God I studied national security. The government determines what constitutes national security, not you and I. America, once the integrity or the security of America is threatened, America can do anything. Look at what is happening in Venezuela now. What's the business of America with Venezuela? Yet taking so many economic measures to strangulate that country. Look at America saying that you cannot probe our soldiers, even if they commit war crimes. And we can talk as if we're in a banana republic. The government is in a position to say, look, my oral understanding of revolution is asking people to take up arms or through insurrection or through public whatever to overthrow government of the day, simply because they've not met the expectations of some certain groups. Nobody will tell you that. Even Buhari himself will tell you that the country we have today is not the country of our dream. And since 1960, we've never gotten it right. But I cannot come up here to say revolution or be inscribing something on walls and we say revolution now, and 100. We at the end of the day, if you know what is revolution, nobody would want to try it.
And
nobody wants to try it. I'm not saying that people's rights should be trampled upon.
Yeah.
We have our fundamental rights. Even as far back as 1948, even when Nigeria was still under Britain, it was proclaimed by the United Nations. But the point is this: there must be responsibilities attached to our rights. There's no absolute liberty. There's no absolute freedom. There's no absolute rights.
Indeed. Well, as you both said, well, certainly you did, Fasi, that it's actually up to the courts to decide and determine upon this whole matter. But I'm just coming back to the point that Mr. Omoyele Sowore, he's a Democrat.
How do you determine a Democrat?
Well, he participated in the last election, and he contested. So to that extent, he believes in democracy and knows that that is the way to go.
No, I tell you, he attended the same university with me. I know him very well. He's not a journalist. He just found himself in journalism.
Yes.
Through activism.
That can happen.
This was somebody who went to Unilag last year to disrupt the convocation. Is that democracy?
That's not true.
I was there. He was arrested.
I wanted to say, sir,
he was there. He was arrested.
That was an incident, but I wanted to come back to the point I was making that from all indications, Omoyele Sowore is a Democrat. In the run-up to the election, the presidential election, He was all over the country, TV, radio, espousing democratic principles. In short, never once did he say at that time that a revolution was what was needed. However, the results came out of the election, and he wasn't anywhere in sight in terms of when the results were collated. And you now show up later under the aegis of freedom of speech, as you have stood up for. And you now say that, I don't know how he thought that, but it's not for me, it's for the court. One can't say this enough. I don't know how he figured that a revolution was the solution to the problem. The revolution part of it, even though he's attached the word now to it and put an hashtag before it, so it's now hashtag revolution now. But it's such a telegraphic message that if people were to pay attention, which the presidency, speaking through Garba Shehu, was saying that he's thanking the people or happy with the people that they voted for democracy by ignoring largely the core. How can we really, before getting to the courts, how can we not be bemused by what has happened?
You see, when you are talking about revolution,
yes,
and then they call for revolution,
yes,
and then preferring a charge of treason and treasonable felony, you must have evidence to that effect.
Beyond the public call
because
in writing
because
for the people to revolt. Beyond that.
Yes.
Beyond that.
Because the context at which he's calling for the said revolution is not at par with what the government think. Because it's a government that is allergic to plurality of voices. It is a government that does not believe in the citizens. It's a government that wants to make pronouncements and let all the citizens queue behind it. It doesn't work like that. There are people who have dissenting views, and you must listen to them, other than arresting them.
You recall that
because the dissenting views of this
has
person
said it has nothing against the right of the citizen to protest. It has nothing against free speech.
So why clamming down on the people?
Which people?
The people who went out peacefully to demonstrate.
Okay, in furtherance of the revolt,
in the call for the
revolution now.
In the call for good governance, the call for the provision of facilities for Nigerians,
all right.
the call for a better society and a better deal. That is what transpired. It has nothing to do with treason. It has nothing to do with treasonable felony. I mean, this is just the offense that the government is inventing to continue to deride the citizens. And I'm saying that the beauty of citizenship is in the confidence that the government reposes on its citizens and not the other way around. You cannot calm down people just because
I don't want to get too deeply involved because I don't want to get too deeply involved simply because the matter is now going to go before. Yes,
it's not even subject.
Yes, but they have to move. They have to move it to the court.
It's not even subject now.
It's the only
thing we are looking for.
He has not been charged.
And they heading towards court.
He has not been charged.
He hasn't.
And that's a further violation of his right, fundamental right.
Justice Taiwo of the Federal Court says he needs time to study the tape presented to him.
Yes,
so that he'll be able to
just
determine.
2 CDs.
Can you excuse me, please? Taiwo is saying, hey man, give me time to study the video and look at whether it is possible for me to grant your request. Okay. Because they're asking for 90 days to further investigate the totality of the allegation and to see whether it will amount to treasonable felony or treason or to be charged to court or not. But it is within the hour. The law says, yes, you cannot detain anybody more than 24 hours in a urban area, in a rural area, 48 hours and all the rest. But we do know that this is not absolute. Even in America, they do detain. They get order to detain people. In Britain, the bastion of democracy, America, the bastion of liberty and democracy, they detain people. In India, they detain. If you are trying to take up arms against the state, or you are calling for you are inciting the people against the state, no responsible government. I've been here several times, not several times, many times, criticizing the government. But in this particular occasion, I'm saying that it is not for anybody to call for a revolution. We know that things are bad in this country, and that is why there was coup in January 15, 1966, and successive counter coup and all the rest. And even Chagari administration was overthrown in 1983.
By this president.
He was called in. I don't know. I don't speak for the military. But the point is that nobody has been happy with what's happening in this country. And I'm sure Buhari himself is not happy with what is going on there. But it's a process. It's not for now anybody to come up. I mean, somebody enjoying the best of the two worlds, Nigeria and America, to now say revolution now, and asking people. By the time you know it, it will snowball into what you cannot curtail.
That perhaps is the fear of
so what do you expect? So what the duty of the security service?
What is a proactive government to do in a situation like that? Look, I know you and I are emotionally involved in our country, Nigeria, but I wanted you to look at this question intellectually, if you will. What is any responsive government? So let's take Nigeria out of it now. Expected to do in a scenario like this, if it were happen in Kazavaka Republic, for example.
The government can play the role of a big brother. The government can play the role of a father. The government can call the citizens, engage them. Let the citizens understand that the government feel their pain. Let the government tell the citizens that these are the strategies in place. Let the government tell the citizens that we are addressing insecurity. That the herdsmen's killing, this is the strategy we have put on ground. It's not been addressed. The issues of education have not been addressed. Public health care have not been addressed. So the government have that power to change the narrative. Even if you cannot solve all the problems, nobody's saying that
one hasn't been addressed.
Nobody's saying that the government must solve all the problems of Nigeria in one day. But the government can play a proactive role. But I'm saying that the role that the government is playing now is not proactive.
Okay, so following
it's one that is demeaning the rights of the citizens.
And there are those who are fearing that, look, you can't be shrinking the civil space. There are some who will say that they can take the interpretation that government is shrinking the civil society space. But I don't know, unless you're dismissive of comments that have come from the presidency via Garba Shehu, that government is not interested in gagging, in frustrating your right to, your constitutional provisions.
No, they've been doing that now. They've been doing that.
But when you call for revolution,
crossing the line.
When you call for a revolution, then perhaps, well, you've just told us an alternative. Any right-thinking government has to sit up and take notice. You have said that perhaps government might have, put out their own sort of counter to that? Would that be engaging the way you see it? As he has, his group have put across what their grievances are. You had said that alternatively, they might have told us what they're doing about this and that and this and that, and it becomes something of a public engagement, and let the public go where they feel they are more at home. Did I represent that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Government can do that. And government can to go further to make sure that it really addresses this issue with sincerity. And let the Nigerian people see this and feel this and understand.
All right.
Because it's not the way they are going about it, carrying. Because
the court will
it is the state that is carrying arms now.
The court
people are not armed.
When the court comes to pronounce, it will tell us who was wrong, right? If government was
we've not even gotten to that.
They have not been charged.
Not gotten to that stage.
They have not even been charged.
Let me tell you, it is easy for we outside there.
Citizens,
outside the government.
Okay, outside of government.
To pontificate.
Okay.
And to deride government. But if you are there, you know the enormity, the interplay of forces. Look, Obasanjo was there. A lot of things happened under Obasanjo. And ever since Obasanjo has been writing, but he never called for any revolution. So within his right, Wole Soyinka has been criticizing the government. Shehu Sani, the former senator.
Government has no shortage of critics.
Yes. Bishop Kuka. And so many others. I've criticized government and I will continue to criticize the government because nobody is happy with. I mean, as young or as old as we are, we knew what this country was, even when we were criticizing government. When we had Ali Mongo, I can tell you what we did. Mm-hmm. Like publishing the black book, the massacre. and not the rest. But for you to call for a revolution, what I'm saying, unless you're the place, Google, maybe I'm not too educated. I want to know the meaning of a revolution.
No,
so that's my own problem. I know you
very
well.
It's an upheaval.
I
by violent means, if necessary.
I think he studied geography in Unilag or something like that. But I know he was a student activist. But the point I'm saying is that there's no absolute liberty. There's no absolute freedom.
And
no nation.
And he would know that.
No nation will fold his arms, close his eyes to any group calling for insurrection or calling for revolution. You cannot do that in America.
It's interesting, Fasi, that you pointed out that you yourself, as you were speaking, are on occasion, and you intend to continue to be a critic of government. And then you've mentioned...
I criticize objectively. And I provide solutions. As a student of Awolowo, as a member of Awoism, so I believe in that philosophy. I don't just criticize, I provide solutions.
But the point is, you criticize.
And we must also make this clear that your generation under the military regime protested heavily against the military and forced them out.
Yes.
Your generation.
Yes.
But we never call for revolution.
We saw that. We saw that as children. We followed up as children. Okay, and you forced them out. You understand? We are calling for a better deal on a democratic government.
Sorry, sir. You forced them out. That's where you left that sentence. You didn't say without calling for a revolution.
No, they did.
I know.
What they did was revolutionary. It's in the history. It's in books. His generation, because it's my father's generation. I followed up through, and these are the generation, the fierce generation, that even feel that we are not doing more as young people.
Okay.
I mean, but today we are calling for a better deal under a democratically elected government, and then we are being clamped. We are being shunned. We are being clamped down.
Then why did you
understand? So you're not saying that what they're doing is wrong.
Listen,
is that what you said?
But isn't
in
that
1962-63, Awolowo said he never clamored for a revolution. Yet he was tried for treasonable felony. All those who ran away were brought back as fugitives. People like Pa Adebanjo, Ayo Adebanjo. He was in Ghana. So the point we're making is this. Yes, there are better ways of marshalling your points and all the rest, and making government to realize that you must put them on their toes, but not for you to clap. Because some people are really waiting. But some people that are agitated are really waiting for an opportunity to unleash.
Let me ask Evans if he recognizes that potential danger, that oftentimes these innocently pursued issues can be hijacked.
It is possible. Nobody is saying it's not possible that struggles like this may be hijacked. But the question we should ask ourselves is this: what is the merit of this struggle? Is there merit in it? Government seems not to be looking at anything in it.
Okay.
The voices, the agitation comes with a lot of demands. They come with merits. They come with agitations. Okay. You understand? Now, these agitations haven't been addressed. Right. There is no intention to address them. What the government have decided to do is to make sure that they repress this.
Okay.
Just a moment, please. Let me just clarify this. These problems were there before the last general elections. And yet, Nigeria decided to vote for the same party. So the fault is not in them, but in us.
No, you cannot clearly say that.
Okay, I got to go on a break.
The matter is in court.
That matter is still in court.
Even the president is threatened by the judicial system. So
okay, tell you what, I'm going to have to go on a quick break now. Stay with us. We'll be right back, and we'll include your calls. Okay, welcome back, and with two lawyers in the house, Mr. Evans Ufeli and Dr. Fasi Yusuf, and we're looking at the request of the DSS regarding the...
There's something like DSS in the Constitution. It's SSS.
But there's also Department of State Security.
No.
Yes.
No, it's not in the constitution.
Sometimes
But
they
it
call
is in
themselves
existence.
that.
No, they just call themselves DSS.
They just call themselves that. But what's in the constitution is SSS.
SSS.
SSS. But there also is a Department of State Security.
Where?
And,
Who told you where?
and please, sir, DSS, can you just call in and explain this thing to us properly? Since there's SSS, there's also DSS. Now they're saying you guys are not even in the Constitution. Please call him Mr. DSS and let us know.
No, we're not saying they're not in the constitution.
I saying it's a misnomer.
SSS.
It's a misnomer.
It-
Misuse of acronym.
Uh-huh.
Department of State Security. No, it's
No.
State Security Service.
In fact, we've had someone from that constituency in before, Mr. What's our friend?
The former director,
Yes,
retired.
Mr. Dennis Amakre. We've had him in who has also touched on this. That there's SSS, which you probably that's the one
State
you're saying.
Security Service.
That one is the one in the Constitution.
Yes.
And the DSS. Okay, Koburu. Let's paraphrase it and go back to. I was actually reading off a headline. So headline says
The media is also guilty.
is now so guilty. Fasi, you've not let me make this point, and it's been about 1 minute. They've asked for 90 days to detain Mr. Sowore. And we're looking at it, and well, if you're just joining us for any reason, Mr. Ofeli has said that he can't even see how they arrived at this. It's not constitutional. And Dr. Yusuf has been saying that, well, when you look at security, who defines it? It is state that knows what is security and what is a threat to that security. And this is something that we also have to bear in mind. Of course, I hope the state will be applying the law. That is their own particular take interesting. So it must be, since we imagine that most people are law-abiding, that the group that has come out with hashtag revolution now must have thought that they were also within the law, because I can't imagine anybody would want to do anything outside of the law, especially publicly. And if you do, then you are actually working on a revolution. But, you know, we can't assume that. Let's just say that they must have thought that they were well within the law. They didn't come out in the middle of the night.
We had it in the past.
They didn't go out in the night. They came out in broad daylight.
Look, there was a revolution championed by Nzegu, Major Cardinal Nzegu. Another one was championed by Ojukwu. Another one was championed by, where are we again now? Somebody else. No, okay, Kalu.
Okay.
So this one now being championed by
IPOB.
Yes, Sowore. There have been series in the past, and for government to continue to allow this type of thing, they can also decide tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. One moment, please. Aki in the UK. Good morning, sir.
Guest in the studio. This is my take. I'm not sure what Daddy Fassi is afraid of when it comes to the issue of revolution. And I think he needs to wake up to the reality that now is the time, and no other time, that the youth need to ask the question about their identity within the Nigerian state, which has been denied them from the onset. 2, we need to shift base. The ruling class is becoming too idle, not giving space to the youth. It is evident in the list that Buhari has given as ministerial. Look at them. All of them are old cargos. Imagine a 69-year-old man coming out as a minister. Please, that is a big insult. What intellectual capacity is he going to give us right now? Secondly, and which is the most important part of it, the revolution is good for Buhari because it puts him on the edge of his seat so that he knows that he's not performing. And he can sit up and give Nigeria what they demanded for him by giving him their votes. You understand? It is about the votes of the people.
All right, then.
The people want what they gave to him. Mm-hmm. He must sit up. You should stop all this go-slow mentality.
Okay, thank you very much, Aki. Appreciate your call. Appreciate your calling. We take all views, and well, that's his viewpoint. But coming back to keeping government on their toes, everybody says that is the thing to do, that is the right thing to do, but that we should all be doing that. We can't just lean back and let government continue. Even former President Obasanjo has said it in a different context, that all of us have to be involved. So, and government itself says it wants feedback, it wants criticism. But
Government said they want criticism.
yeah,
This government don't
Take it-
listen to
take it
criticism.
well,
They don't appreciate the objective criticisms of the people, because if they do, they will take their policy direction from what the people are saying and then make policies to address those issues. But where you see the criticism as threats, where you begin to meet to come up with a law on hate speech,
The problem
on
with what you're saying to me,
different
sir,
kind of
the
things.
problem with what you're saying to me is that I come along with you all that way, but people will see things differently, and that's where I think Nigeria has this record number of political parties that are on the books. It's as many views as possible on this whole matter of policy direction, and then they come and present it to the Nigerian electorate, say, this is what we should be doing, this is how we should be going, and then the electorate evaluates everybody, and then through the ballot makes their choice. We think this one is better. I think I'm going to go along with this, and if I'm wrong, I have another 4 years of enduring this for 4 years, and then we'll come and make a change, hopefully. People would have been wiser by then. That's the only way you can change your government. Now, for example, even if I were to leave this question alone, this question of revolution now, let's say it was even good. Let's say it was even, that is, it worked. I didn't quite understand how it's now going to happen.
Structure.
So what will now happen? Let's say, just assuming, so this revolution, everywhere is ungovernable, so what would then happen? INEC will now come and say, let's do it again, or, hey,
It is not calling for the nation to be ungovernable. If you look at, that's why I'm saying that we should even read the demands that are being made.
What are you looking
under
for
this-
after you've
this-
seen revolution? Revolution now.
No. You need to understand the context at which the expression was made.
Then the expression was probably poorly chosen.
Because
Maybe.
you see,
Maybe.
You see, dictionary is not a final authority to the meaning of words.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I did.
Okay. But it just did give us a
deeply
quick
also.
telegraphic road sign as to what the objective is.
It's not you see, it is, that's what they call contextualization. Okay.
Okay.
You must look down and see the import of the expression made. Okay?
The import of the
expression made. That is why in English language, when they ask you to substitute word, they tell you not to give them the dictionary meaning, but they ask you to give them the contextual meaning.
Okay.
And then it is
I
the
don't want to
contextual
interrupt
meaning
this,
of this.
that we should be running with.
Yes.
John,
Looking at
good
the
morning, sir,
demands.
and thank you for holding on.
You've not allowed me to reply to the first caller.
Okay, sir, please.
You see, the people get the type of government they deserve. The preponderance of our population is made up of youth. They left what, in parentheses, youth, and they decided to vote for a Baba. Are you going to blame me for that? I have only one vote. And unfortunately, I was not even allowed to vote because I was on TV. TVC, channels, TV. So I could not even vote. But the point I'm making is this. Why were they not able to mobilize
During that period.
so that they get their own person there? I mean, even if you are talking about rigging, which I believe that every political party rigs, and I stand to be corrected, it is when you lose that you now be clamoring and be shouting. Every politician, every political party rigs an election, either one way or the other, either by inducement, either by whatever.
But we don't have any evidence for that.
What I'm saying,
That one is just a gut feel. You have.
listen, I said in my own opinion.
Yes, sir.
I'm not saying I have any foundation for it or any this thing, but I can tell you
But
what
your
I've experienced
knowing
as an
your
observer,
people,
as
knowing
a
your country.
commentator, and all the rest. But they allowed the old man to be there, and some people supported him, or most people supported him. He's there. So, but you have to wait for another 4 years. You have to re-strategize. You have to re-strategize to see how you can get these people out of the way. Not calling for a revolution, Because no government, not even American government will not take it. British government will not take it.
Well, no government is going to take it, but Mr. Oveli did suggest that, look,
there is no contest.
Engage with them.
Of course, they have to. They have to.
Andy in the UK. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
First, I wanted to, Prof, I wanted to be clear about Prof position.
Okay.
Concerning
Professor W.S. Shoyinka?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Professor Shoyinka.
Good morning to you, sir.
Okay.
Because I happen to be a follower of Prof.
Sure.
And then his discussion took me back to 2010 when the current president made a statement that was a rhetoric they called it, that was viral in 2000. That his election did not go his way. This is what will happen in Nigeria. And then after January 6th revolution that we had against us, I also listened to Prof and Professor your opinion there. But on this one, I wasn't there where Prof was at. And then Uncle Yori told too, we're not sure we don't know. We're not sure how to play it, whether you're in government in that or government supporter or the one. So
excellent.
Excellent. At all times.
Excellent. I mean, I'm not. I need to hear both sides.
Okay. You will have time. You will have time to answer. And then I want you to know that you are bigger. We that are your followers, you are bigger than TV people. Because we are hopeful that when the presidency comes to South Africa, we will not ask you anything else than you be our minister of information. also, Uncle Yori, and a great when you got to the other guests, the other brothers.
Mr. Ufeli and Chief Yusuf.
Revolution has different meanings.
Okay.
And the action, the name revolution does not necessarily mean armed revolution. We all know that in London, a women for justice revolution started by just a couple of women in Dagenham in East London that worked at the Ford factory. Nobody get them arrested. They did not carry any arms. We know that this president that enjoyed freedom of expression during the past president said we found this government now very, they were so against any criticism at any level. And if anybody say anything against the president in any Nigeria, it should so. It's quite embarrassing seeing Nigerians as in Sowore, a simple person, because of the made a statement that they needed electoral revolution.
All right.
That they wanted to exercise peacefully. We saw the people that campaigned and how they disposed them. They carry no arms. Like it has,
okay, Andy. Andy, I want to appreciate your call. Thank you very, very much for calling in, and especially as you had to hold on for a bit. Thank you for calling in. This is, well, as that man said, I just want to, that's what the program does. We try to hear from all the sides, so much so that the man is saying, we can't even place which side you're on. Because I don't have a side.
You see, when you talk about revolution...
Wait, I think, is there some dissension there?
He has accused you of always... supporting government.
But we all heard it together now.
And he gets queried from NBC all the time.
That's what he said, and it's true.
He gets queried.
Thank God it didn't come from me, because if it had come from me, you would have said, okay, because you are at the other side.
Yeah, he's trouble. There
is God, though. There is God.
No, I'm not the one that said it. That is the one that said it.
I know.
And he also gave you credit as well.
I know my friend gets queried by NBC all the time.
One moment, please. Mazi Okorafo, weigh in on the matter.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guests. Government Dr. Yusuf and the other lawyer too. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You see, when we talk about revolution or no revolution is not the answer. What Nigeria should be talking about now is how do we solve the problem of poverty? That's number one. How do we solve the problem of hunger? Number two, the problem of illiteracy. Now, when you look at these three issues, let's make reference to Sudan. Sudan saga was spearheaded by a 23-year-old girl of architectural department in support of the professionals. It was not a one-man show. Look, Make reference. Then you know, because of bread, that bread was costing 1,000 naira. That is bread you see in Lagos, maybe 300 naira. It was costing 1,000 naira. Now, what we should be talking about as a Nigeria, as a country, is that the incoming minister that will be coming out at the 21st of this month. Let them do a sort of a revolution in their own ministries so that the revolution will now work well. So that is what we should be talking, that all the ministers coming, revolutionize their departments or their sections so that the Nigerians will get the dividends of democracy within 100 days in office.
Okay.
If they can do that, I bet you we are talking that we are progressing. We are progressing because there's nothing wrong protest or no protest enough. Because you look at Nigeria, because of religion, because of issue of tribe, Igbo, Yoruba, everything is not it's just scattered. So let's move forward. I'm moving to talk to segmented market. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Indeed. Thank you very much for calling too. Well, Mr. Sowore will be finding out in the fullness of time, and there are people who are working on his behalf. No doubt, the rule of law still, subsists. So there are people who are going to take this to court, and they are working on it. But there are also those who say that I don't see what government has done that is wrong. So we just have to keep our ears on both sides, pending the pronouncement. But it needs to be said that I think between something like 4 or 5 states actually tried to respond to it. But major bodies, NLC, TUC, said they don't even know what you're talking about. So we're not even involved. Governor Wike, who is not necessarily the best, he's not a pro-Buhari person. He said, if I see any such thing in this environment, police have instructions to, deal with it appropriately. So, you see, everybody, different strokes for different folks. There are those who come along with it, and we're acknowledging that they exist. But whether the overwhelming majority of people will go in this particular direction, maybe the way it started off is something of an indication. I don't know. Yakub has called in. Good morning, Mr. Yakub.
Yeah, good morning, Secretary.
Thank you for
calling
calling
in. And good morning to your guests, especially Dr. Fassi and the other guests.
Especially Dr. Fassi and Mr. Evans Ufeli.
Exactly. Secretary, for me, I pray the court grant the order to SSS not to leave that man in time. Why? Why? Because this is the person stand before Nigerians almost 4 or 5 months ago now, in February, that you want to become the president of this country. And then when you fail to become the president of the country, and then Nigerian citizen, you come to us, you campaign to us, the other aspirants, including President Muhammadu Buhari, campaign to Nigerians. And then we choose President Muhammadu Buhari, we voted for him. Now, you turn around and you are now calling revolution now. Underline that statement, sir. Revolution now. See, if revolution now that this man is clamoring for happened, I can bet all those elites, the politicians, the senators, the former governors, their children, they were not here in Nigeria. The block is going to come down on various Nigerian ordinary citizens. And then all those elites, their children were not here, including Sowore, what his name is. Maybe the man is calling for revolution in order to destroy this country. I think what the government did is right, and then they should not leave this man in time, because we are not ready for any revolution now. The revolution we are ready for is that we have already given our revolution to President Muhammadu Buhari in order for him to carry on. Whether you like it or not, if you want to become a president of this country, wait for the next 4 years again. Come around again. Tell us what you want to do. If your idea is better than President Muhammadu Buhari own, we have given our vote to you. So now we are not giving our vote to you, and then you are not telling us revolution now. Okay, the other gentleman is sitting in the studio to give us the meaning of revolution now. Yes, you said they were not carrying on. If you go to social media today, you know what's going on in social media. See, Nigerian citizens, we are already wise than all those things. We know where we are going. The Nigeria, as Dr. Fassi said earlier, this country, it is not like this. Since 1960, as Mr. Fassi said earlier, we have not got it right. Then we are moving on. I believe one day we'll get there.
Yeah.
And then you cannot tell us revolution now. The man should be dead. The man should be keeping in where he is. They should not leave him now because we are not ready for any revolution.
Sure.
We have already given our revolution to President Muhammadu Buhari.
Thank
Man, and thank you. God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ofeli, what you were particular about the meaning that should be applied to the word revolution. Since you've given this some thought, what is your definition of revolution?
My assessment of revolution is a change in the way things are done.
But that's what this present government is doing. Change.
No.
This government came on change.
No,
and they didn't use the word revolution, they used the word change.
Yes. The government came on the mantra of change, but
Yes.
the government have not delivered change.
Uh-huh.
They've not been able to deliver change in the last 4 years. They've led the country. Okay, so the issue of herdsmen.
No. So yes, but going back to the word
So
now,
many issues
you
have not been
say
addressed.
your understanding of the word revolution is change.
Simply means change.
It
But
simply
in the
means
context,
change.
yeah, in the context at which this is used,
Yes.
is an expression you must marry with the demands made, because they are not
That you will see secondarily.
You know, not secondarily.
Yes,
No,
after seeing the revolution now,
that
you
will
now
see
have
as
to
the
try
meaning.
and find out what does this mean.
No, they define the meaning of what
Revolution.
what is meant, what the context of the revolution meant was defined, and then there are a lot of demands made, which are valid and genuine demands. Okay, and then which we thought that government is expected to engage the people and then decide on how to go about the demands made, and not to take the other
So
way
if
around.
only the Secret Service and the government had understood that the word #revolution now, it simply is, it could have been #change now.
No, you don't.
You know, I'm trying to put it into
Or transformation now.
which somebody has used transformation now. But let me not lose Emmanuel in Owerri. Mr. Emmanuel in Owerri, good morning, you're our last caller.
Good morning, Uncle Yeri.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning to the guests in the studio.
Yeah, thank you.
Sir, I'm of the opinion that federal government, like the young lawyer said, he even put it to our father in that studio, that in their days, they revolutionized more than what they are doing now. He was quiet over that statement. If the word revolution was the fear of the government, what have they come out with in their findings that revolution word? That revolution with arms, revolution with words, or revolution with food. Up to now, they are demanding for 30 days to find out what they are suspecting of. We are not sincere to ourselves.
90 days.
Some group of people came out here and threatened the federal government and giving them ultimatum. They were not afraid of that ultimatum. But for somebody said revolution now, and he was bold to say it, he said he's calling for anarchy. But those that gave federal government ultimatum was not calling for anarchy. We are deceiving ourselves. That's the simple truth of the matter in this nation.
All right,
like Obasanjo said, until we tell ourselves the truth, if we are naked, we know that we are naked. If we are half naked, we know that we are half naked. This nation will still remain like this. I know the judge can never grant that request of the DSS for 30 days. For what?
All right then.
Are you
All right
against
then.
it?
Okay then. Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call.
There's no merit in it, so you can't grant it.
Yeah.
No, it cannot be granted.
He's just said.
Have you penetrated the mind of the judge?
Luckily, we have
Have you penetrated the mind of the judge?
two minds. One mind says there's no merit in the matter as far as he sees it. The other says I can't see how you arrived at that conclusion. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Sydney was, I beg your pardon, not Sydney, because a buddy of mine, Sydney Ofeli. It's Evans Ofeli. Evans was, were you at any of the protests?
Yes, I was at the protest.
Okay, so that is how passionately you believe in it. Thank you very much for coming in, gentlemen. Dr. Fasi Yusuf, lawyer and communications consultant. Mr. Evans Ofeli, lawyer, public affairs analyst, and indeed, revolution, #revolution now participant. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No. He said so. He's not hiding it. That's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folai.